Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second prelude of podcast at Surgical Utopia. Today, we shall discuss about the guidelines for dental practice post COVID-19 outbreak, the new normal, as this is something that all of the dental practitioners are concerned about due to this unfortunate pandemic. And in order to discuss this topic, we have Dr. Ankita Jain, who is periodontist and implantologist from Indore, and currently she is a full-time practitioner and has a keen interest in teaching also. She is currently active on YouTube and has a YouTube channel by the name of Your Dental Tutor. So you can check her channel where she posts amazing content regarding periodontology and other dental related topics. The link is given in the description. So do visit her channel for the amazing content that she has there. Welcome, ma'am, at Surgical Utopia, and thank you for joining me for today's podcast.
Thank you for inviting me on this wonderful platform. A big hello to everyone.
We are very fortunate to have you, ma'am. Let's just start with the topic. Ma'am, the first question that I have is that what are the guidelines that we as dentists and especially the new dentists who have just passed out should take in consideration right from giving the appointment till the patient is relieved in order to ensure the safety from the coronavirus infection?
That's a very important question of this hour actually. So I would like to discuss it stepwise. First step is that before giving appointment to the patient, what are precautions need to be taken, what you can do without calling the patient to your clinic. You can actually contact the patient telephonically. You can screen the patient symptoms which are consistent with the COVID-19. Telephonically, you can assess the patient's dental condition and determine whether the patient needs to be seen in the dental settings or not. If at all the patient is needed to be called, then request the patient to limit the number of visitors accompanying him or her to the dental appointment and advise the patient and the one accompanying him or her to wear a cloth face covering or face mask when entering the facility. And they need to undergo the screening for fever and symptoms consistent with the COVID-19. At the time of the patient's visit, patients and visitors should ideally wear their own face mask, but if they don't have, then they should be offered face mask from the clinic itself.
Okay. So basically, you should start it from teledentistry that you are hinting at, like you have telepathy, teledentistry. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is
I would like to add some more points when the patient visits to the dental clinic basically that we should encourage the physical protocols which we are following since the lockdown, since the infection has occupied our country. That patients should be encouraged to maintain the physical distancing, that is 6 feet distance should be maintained between the people. In the waiting area also, the chairs should be arranged in such a way that there is a maintainable distance between them. You should also, from the dentist side also, the appointments should be given such that there are no overlapping of the dental appointments so that when patient visits to the dentist, then the dentist is prepared to take him or her on the chair. And if there is some time gap between the patient's appointment and the chair is not vacant, patients may opt to wait in a personal vehicle or outside the dental facility where they can be contacted by mobile phone when it is their turn for dental care. So that is how we can actually manage the patient's turn up and without causing disturbances and
without
preventing
violating the
the
protocol of social distancing, basically.
sure, yes. So these are the precautions which should be taken while giving appointment to the patient.
Okay. And suppose the patient has been taken in for the dental treatment, then what all, how should we start with the treatment? Is there anything specific that has to be done once the patient is taken on the dental chair?
Yes, of course. Once the patient gets seated on a dental chair, he or she should be asked to go for pre-procedural mouth rinses. These are the antimicrobial products which may reduce the level of microorganisms in the aerosols and the spatter which is generated during the dental procedure.
Okay, ma'am. So, what are the precautions that we as a dentist should take into consideration during consultation and performing the procedures? Like, what we as the practitioners or the healthcare providers should do, especially for dentists, because we are like in direct contact. Any dental procedure that we have to deliver it to the patient, we are in direct contact with the oral mucosa and the mucus of the patient, the saliva of the patient. So what as dentists should we do?
Yeah, very rightly said, Dr. Sobia, that the major routes for the major routes for transmission of viruses are through mucous membrane, eyes, and mouth in our field especially. So we need to actually take care about all three of them. First step, I'll divide these steps, the answer into some steps so that viewers and listeners can easily follow them. You need to first perform the hand hygiene. You need to put the clean gown or protecting clothing that covers personal clothing and skin. Put on surgical mask or respirator, whatever you are using.
Okay.
Put on eye protection, like protective eyewear. Here by eyewear, I mean not your personal glasses and lenses, but either disposable one or the special glasses which are meant for protection of eyes. Okay. And put on clean, non-sterile gloves. If they are dirty, torn, or contaminated, then change them immediately without any delay, and then you can enter the patient the various procedures.
Okay.
After completion of dental care, then you have to remove the gloves, remove the gown, discard the disposable gowns, and if they are not disposable, then you have to give it to the laundry directly. Exit the patient room or care area. After exiting, you have to perform again hand hygiene for 20 seconds with the use of hand sanitizers or soap or water, and remove the eye protection. Do not touch the front of the eye protection. Clean and disinfect the reusable eye protection according to the manufacturer's instructions. Remove and discard the surgical mask. Perform again the hand hygiene. And please do take care that after every patient, dental unit water lines should be cleaned, and the water quality should be tested to meet the standards for safe drinking water. Autoclave the instruments, clean the equipments properly, and also do the surface disinfection of all the metallic, non-metallic surfaces, floor if possible, and then call for the next patient. So these are the steps which are need to be followed.
Okay. And ma'am, as you mentioned that the in the first step about the hand hygiene, so can you just tell me in detail for our listeners which type of hand wash is more effective and works for a longer duration? Like in the starting when the COVID-19 had just broken out worldwide, lot of people were saying it doesn't matter whether what type of hand wash you use, but the duration of the time that you scrub your hand with the with the soap or with your hand wash, that matters. So is that of any relevance kind of hand soap or hand wash we are using, or what is your say on this?
Yes, of course. Actually, hand soaps are equally effective, but when we talk about the patients, when we talk about the common man, but since in hospital, in dental clinics, in these dental centers, we are already working in a very contaminated environment. So we need to take care of ingredients in case of hand washes also. So there are various hand washes and scrubs available in the market, as you said. Some are chlorhexidine based, some are alcohol based. Both of them have different duration of action basically. Alcohol based hand washes start to act after 20 seconds and they remain effective up to 1 minute. So these should be rubbed for minimum of 20 seconds on hands, And chlorhexidine-based hand rubs start their action after 1 minute and remain effective for 1 hour because they bond to stratum corneum, so they act for longer period of time. But it has been seen in the evidences that the combination of the alcohol-based and the chlorhexidine-based hand rubs should be used because they are more effective. Second is hand rub. Along with the hand washes, there are hand scrubs which remain effective up to 6 hours. So both of the options can be used. And for the patients, alcohol-based hand rubs can be used. For the health professionals, combination of both can be used, and it is more effective.
Basically, combination of chlorhexidine and alcohol based for the healthcare providers, and alcohol based alone will be sufficient for the patients. Like in the starting, there were a lot of YouTube channels or YouTube videos. I don't want to mention anybody's name, but they were saying, they were teaching how to make hand washes at home and all that thing. Maybe at that time, maybe considering the situation at that time and the lack of stock, it could have been effective, or it could be considered fine, and when people did that, it was okay. But I think, as you said, that it should be taken care that for effective outcomes and effective prevention, at least alcohol based hand washes and hand rubs should be used. Okay,
Yes, sure.
so this is
Right.
something nice that I got to know. And the another question related to this is, ma'am, how many times hand rubs can be used?
Yeah, it can be used n number of times, numerous times, as many as times a person wants. And but the care should be taken that before eating, wash your hands thoroughly because different hand washes have different duration of action. Some remain active for up to even 6 hours, as I said, that in case of hand scrubs, they remain effective up to 6 hours. So it's better whenever you intake something through oral cavity, then it's better that you completely wash your hands.
Okay. Now let's come to the mask and the respirator. Ma'am, what is better? Whether it is more efficient to use mask, or what is which has better superiority over other, mask or respirators?
Yeah, actually, in market, since Corona has started, this Corona time has started, various variety of mask respirators are available, and various companies are offering different kind of attracting features in their products. But grossly, if we will see, then there are three kind of masks which are readily available also and which are readily used by the dentist. That first is normal mask, and which are like 3-ply mask, etc. Second one is N95 mask, and third one is our respirator. Now there are differences between these three, and I would like to tell you what is recommended for health professionals. Mask is actually anything which helps to cover your face. It can be 3-ply mask or just a piece of cloth which is used by some common man. But it basically protects the environment from you, but it's not the other way around. It helps to reduce the risk of large particles expelled by the wearers, like saliva and mucus.
Yeah.
This mask is not at all recommended for healthcare professionals because it often fits loosely and there is complete leakage of air. Second one is our N95 respirator, which helps to reduce the particles inhaled by wearer. It is designed to fit tightly, creating a seal between the face and the mask, but it requires a fit testing every time the user wears it. And the last one is respirator. It helps in reducing particles both inhaled and expelled by wearer. The main feature that separates it from N95 is it is resistant to high velocity fluids. So that's why I would recommend, if possible, go for the respirator because there is a complete seal and it is a must for them. And if not possible, at least use N95 respirator along with the surgical mask.
Okay.
So,
Let's go to the next question. Can you please give a brief information about the kind of surface disinfection in the dental clinic? what all solutions can be used for it, basically for sterilization procedures and stuff and disinfection procedures.
Yes, surface disinfection is actually very important after each patient. Should be done after each patient for the maximum prevention of the transmission of various microorganisms, bacteria, and viruses. For example, for metal surfaces, we can use 70% isopropyl alcohol. For high risk surfaces, we can use the combination of 7.35% hydrogen peroxide and peracetic acid. For dental chair units and non-metallic surfaces like floors and water lines, 1% hydrogen peroxide or 1% bleaching agent is sufficient. So this step should be actually done after each patient.
Okay. So basically this is for the surface disinfection of the entire dental unit.
Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, so with this we come to the end of our podcast. Any last message for the dentist and the patients?
Yeah, sure. I would like to say to the dentist that it is a very important period for all of us as we work in a very high risk zone and we work in an area which is more prone in transmitting the infections. But by following all the guidelines issued by authorities, we can prevent it. And though we were very much conscious before also for the sterilization protocols, but now it's about us, it's about our family. So we need to take care at the personal level also, and this is the new normal actually. And for the patients, I would like to say that they should start talking to their dentist. Ask them that what all arrangements they have made in their setup for their safety. Talk to them about your problems rather than avoiding them. If you are convinced by their arrangements, then you can definitely go for the treatment. Because avoiding them can aggravate your problems more. It's better to undergo the treatment now because I guess maximum clinics and dental care centers has reopened with all the safety measures. I would like to assure the patient that they can actually go for treatment with all the precautions from the dentist side as well as from their own side. It's their duty also to follow all the guidelines which are made for them for the prevention of transmission of the disease.
So that was very informative, ma'am. With this, we come to the end of today's podcast. I hope it was informative and helpful in clearing a lot of doubts for all of the listeners listening to us, and especially the new budding dentists. And thank you, ma'am, for joining me for such wonderful information, such helpful information. And I hope with this information and by imbibing these guidelines, we can all come together and revive our dental practice in a better way for the betterment of the society.
Very correctly said, Dr. Sophia, and thank you so much for inviting me. I once again want to briefly share my notes and teach them in a very simplified form possible on my channel. The name of the channel is Your Dental Tutor. The notes are in the form of flow charts and line diagrams. These notes are actually compiled from various sources like the standard textbooks and the relevant journals. So do check them out. They will be definitely helpful to you all. And I give my best wishes to resume your practices and learn together, grow together, along with this wonderful platform. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With this, it's a wrap. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye till then and take care.